Welcome to Unleash Your Inner Goldilocks, how to get it just right. Thank you for joining us in another conversation that is going to help us build a better world and build a better community. Today, we're going to talk about the importance of education and how educators can shape and influence our shared prosperity. Just take a moment and think about, why does education matter? What opportunities education gives us? And how can we to innovate and build a more inclusive, caring, compassionate world that truly allows each of us to build our prosperity and thrive, but do it together. Business and community doesn't survive alone. It is a collaborative, co-creative process, and education gives us the tools. So as we get started, I have the honor and pleasure of introducing to you a dear friend of mine, somebody I met through the ACBSP accreditation process, joining me all the way from India, Dr. Plagu Niranjana. Welcome to Unleash Your Inner Goldilocks.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Such an honor to have you, Plagu. And as we get started, I want you to take us in a few sentences down the road of what got you into education? What inspired you to become a professor?
To begin with, actually, thank you very much. And it's a pleasure to meet you again. To begin with, actually, you can say that, many in my family have been educators. My grandfather, then my father was there in education. Then so many others are there. But actually, I did not think of being an educator. What I thought of was actually to do a PhD. And for that, you can say that my mother is the inspiration. She specifically wanted me to be wished me to be a doctor, doctor of medicine. And I was very sure that if I study science in class 11th and 12th, in India, to be a doctor, you have to take science in higher secondary, class 11th and 12th. And I was very sure that I'd be failing and I did not be a doctor. So somehow we reached a kind of a conclusion that, okay, I have to do a PhD. That time, it was somewhere in my elementary school age. I must be around 6, 7 or 8 year old. So then that time I thought, I was thinking of becoming a banker like my father. And that time, in fact, I had thought of taking economics as a subject. Then slowly as I started, I was good in academics. I was doing well in school. Then after my class 12, my father introduced me to the field of psychology. After, during summers, what do I do? I was so many novels and everything I was reading, but what do I do? So he gave me a psychology book and I chose Abnormal Psychology by Coleman. And there I could understand only two topics. One was suicide, second was alcoholism. Because when you read newspaper, these are the two topics you understand. And then I started reading that book, Abnormal Psychology. And from there, actually, you can say I completely fell in love with psychology. And I took it as my honor subject. And in fact, I had thought of doing my PhD in either gender studies or in geriatrics. I never thought of organizational behavior, organizational psychology. But after my, in India, after masters, we can do MPhil for 1 year.
Okay.
So I did my MPhil for 1 year, and after MPhil, in fact, I joined as a research assistant to Professor Biswajit Patnaik. You know him.
Absolutely.
So, ACBSP Result 10 chair and president of ASBM University. So I joined his team and he became my PhD supervisor. And I got influenced by him actually to join this, education. Initially, my father, I remember we were that time in Varanasi. My father was posted there, and I was typing my master's dissertation thesis, and whole night I typed, and in the morning that was the word start days. Word was not there, so I forgot to save it, and completely everything I lost. So next day morning, he was helping me typing. It was written. He was helping me typing, and that time he was telling me that, see, you're writing references, so many names, and you've become a professor, and your name also will be, given as reference. And then they have been telling that at home so many people where so many of the family members were into education, and majorly I got inspired by Professor Biswajit Patnaik. He became my guide, my mentor, and later on also he supervised my father for his PhD thesis. So you can say that is the beginning to be in education. But I joined teaching, as a choice. It's not like that I did not apply for any other kind of job and I did not get through and I joined. No, not like that. I actually joined this thing because of a choice, because I liked it. I liked research more. Now I'm into more into administration.
Oh,
And this
so
is
that is
something.
such a beautiful story, Dr. Plago. So what I'm hearing is your entire support system, your mom, your dad, your mentors, your teachers, everybody was instrumental in shaping your journey, right? And that
And
is
in fact, I forgot to talk about my sister, my biggest ally.
uh-huh.
So I have a very, beautiful support system, very strong. You know India very well, and we
Mhm.
have a family is very strong here. So here, and I had excellent teachers, in fact, in school. So
Mhm.
becoming a teacher, joining education, it's a kind of it's inspired. I'm inspired by many, but you can say finally, my mentor, Professor Patnaik, only dragged me into this.
Absolutely. And so that is such a powerful message, right? For anybody who wants to pursue education, for whatever field they want to specialize in, that support system becomes very critical. And in the absence of a family support system, we as professors, we as educators need to rally around our students and create that environment so that they can thrive, even if at home they don't have the support system. You and I are blessed. We come from a culture where education is primary, right? It is number one priority in every
Yeah.
family, every child. It is not an afterthought. It's not like, do you want fries with that, right? It
Yeah.
is what everybody is supposed to go get. If you want to go and sweep chimneys, that's fine. Go get a PhD and build a machine to do it, right? So we come from a society that values it, and you're still living in a society that values it.
Yeah.
But not the whole world looks at education that way. And not the whole world looks up to educators with that reverence. I remember growing up in Sri Lanka and also living and studying in India, the philosophy was your teacher and your spouse are your destiny. They can make or break your entire destiny. And teachers, when a teacher walk into a class, even if it's a kindergarten teacher, parents and grandparents, everybody stand up.
Yeah.
We don't
Now also
sit
it is there.
down. Yes. We don't sit down until the teacher is seated. And that is a mark of respect. It's a certain reverence we have. But in the West, that's not it. I was shocked when I came to class and my professor walks into class and my classmates have their feet on the desk and they're all eating chips and popcorn. I'm like, oh Lord. I stood up because that was my habit. Everybody else is looking at me like, what is she doing? Right? How do we create an environment where globally education is valued and respected? How do we take some of these best practices and take it to the other parts of the world?
See, I believe for that, culturally we all are very different. So we have to
Go ahead.
Yeah, culturally, we all are very different. Western countries, Eastern countries. So we have to take the best practices of one culture to the other. And slowly, you cannot, somebody is in university, you cannot tell them directly that, okay, you do this, you do that. It is a kind of a socialization process. So
Mhm.
teachers and parents, both school teachers in school also, they have to, do this. They have to initiate in a child the respect for studies, and they have to tell the child how the study is important and how the study is going to help them in future, because knowledge, whatever you do, ultimately knowledge helps.
Yes.
Knowledge makes you different from others. For each and every decision, your education helps you. It's not like that uh, it is not necessary. So we have to cultivate in the child as to what to do, what not to do. And when a child is in a positive environment, creating a positive environment for the child, also you find happy environment, they go on to become also very happy individuals, and they spread that happiness, and ultimately it is going to help the society.
I can see the organizational psychology professors' thoughts and ideas coming through here, right? We can't change any culture, but we can very gently influence the positive change and create an environment for that change to take root. Now, when we think of education, there are different types of education for different fields. Not every field needs a PhD. We need plumbers, we need electricians, we need carpenters, we need all the professions, all the trades. But every profession, every trade has learning associated with it, has apprenticeship associated with it, practical training involved with it. What advice would you give for young people who are wondering, what do I want to do? I don't want to go to school for too long. I only want to be in school for a little time. I like to do things with my hands. Or maybe school is expensive. What guidance can you give young people thinking, or parents trying to help young people make education decisions?
See, ultimately we have to find out what the student likes, what the child likes, and what the child is good at. You know, so
Mhm.
suppose it may so happen that everybody will not be good in education, and everybody should not be good in education. Some people will be very good in music, some people will be very good in dance, some people will be very good in painting, and so many other careers also. Somebody will be very good in designing, website designing, and they're not highly educated, but we need all these things. So we have to find out what the student is good in, and accordingly we have to guide that individual to take that path. No, if somebody is not doing well in studies, why we feel that they are not doing well?
Mhm.
Individually, I always think that it's okay, everybody will not do well in studies. So
Mhm.
one can be a very good individual, but it's not good in studies, fine. So if he or she is not good in studies, they might be a very good safe. So why not?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we talk about different kinds of intelligence, right? Some
Yes.
people may have very good nature-based intelligence. They can go out there and identify plants and create environmentally sustainable situations and scenarios, and they like to work with their hands. Some people are very musically intelligent. They can hear something and they can create music from it, right? Some people are very, very artistic and they can paint anything they imagine. You and I can't do that. Every
Somebody
type,
may be a very good photographer. Somebody may be a very good
absolutely.
photographer.
Yes. So
Somebody
one
may
of the,
be a very good director of movies.
oh yes, movies. Who doesn't like movies, right? So it's important for parents and teachers not to force a child to go into academic studies alone, because the message I'm hearing from you is understand the child and cultivate the child's natural intelligence so that the child goes on to do what is naturally sits in the sweet spot of his or her own intelligence.
That's why if I remember my school days, we had co-curricular activities, extracurricular activities. It was not only, academics. It was not only studies. So many other things were there. And anybody can do anything wherever the child is doing well or child is better. They go through that. I have friends who are not good in studies, but they might be very good as a kind of a beautician, if nothing else. Very good in stitching. Oh, somebody is a very good homemaker.
Yes. And we
My
need all
mother
of
is,
it, right? We
yes,
girls
we
know
need
the
all.
importance of having a great beautician, right?
Yeah.
So I am so glad to hear you say that, Dr. Plago, because a lot of parents struggle trying to figure out how to guide the child, right? So let's take it one step further. Young people with their parents' assistance and their support system have figured out where they want to go and how they want to proceed. But then from learning and getting the craft and becoming a master in their chosen area, then has to move into turning that into a vocation and making an income from it. Yeah. So when you wear your organizational psychology hat, how can young people start thinking about making that transition from learning to doing to make a living?
How do I say it? Okay. ASPM, we have got different kind of, finishing school we have. And we also, when they join, we also test their psychometric test we do. And we develop them. Basically, anybody who is in master's degree in MBA or MBA, they go for corporate kind of job. But many of them also, some of them they join teaching, some of them will join research, some will be into entrepreneurship, and we have seen some students to joining politics also. So ultimately, I feel the individual has to introspect and find out as to what is the calling and what is making them, comfortable. I tell the students when they have to, choose the specialization, elective, I tell them ultimately you are going to do the job, whether you take HR or marketing or finance or operations or IT. What makes you happy? If you're not happy, you won't be able to perform in the organization, wherever you join or you start your own company. So take something that is making you happy. Ultimately, you be happy, then your parents and all of us will be happy. So I always talk about being happy. So being happy, whatever makes you happy, take that.
That is such brilliant guidance, Dr. Plago, because two things that resonated for me. Find your calling and be happy. Because ultimately the crux of that is know your purpose and live your purpose. Then work is not work, work is joyful. And you're at peace with what you do, and then your life is happy.
See, I can give you my example. I always joke that, I get paid for pursuing my hobby. I love reading. And I always joke with even my nephew, I tell that, see, I'm being paid to read. This is a very good job that way for me. Because I'm doing something that I like.
That is true. That is true. I too don't feel like what I do is work because it's joyful.
Yes.
It is. And those of us who love teaching and enjoy being a professor, enjoy researching, enjoy guiding students to pursue their dreams.
Yes.
We also have to like people. Some professions people go into because they don't want to do anything with people.
Correct.
Education requires that human connection, that human interaction. And I want us to take a minute and talk about the importance of us being able to, while we educate, show our students by modeling the behavior, how to be kind, how to be empathetic, how to build a socially responsible, ethical community around us, regardless of what it is we end up choosing to do. Because those are building blocks of a successful society, successful organization, and that is what lays the foundation for our shared prosperity.
True. I couldn't get you. Can you please repeat?
Okay, so as we teach, we're not just teaching the subjects, we're teaching them how to be responsible human beings, how to be
Yes.
kind, how to be gentle, how to be compassionate, how to understand. Don't get in arguments and fights all the time. Try and listen to somebody else's perspective, because we're going to learn something from that perspective taking. That is necessary to build a successful organization, successful society, and therefore build our shared prosperity.
Correct. You're right. You're right. See, ultimately, what I feel, nobody is bad. You know, everybody has some goodness, everybody, some good qualities, some bad qualities. Wherever we find good qualities are more, we say, okay, they are good human being. So we have to cultivate that goodness in human being and find out what is good in them, and then accordingly we have to work on that. So that's what I feel that students are. And students, if you say, like I have experienced that if they get a good mentor, they definitely do well, because if they believe that you're guiding them for their own benefit, they follow you, and also they do extremely well. And achievement of a goal is always a collaborative effort. We have to work together, whether it is mentor, mentee, a family support system, or with your friends, with your colleagues, whatever. Without collaborating, we cannot achieve our goal. It is very difficult. So
Yes.
Team spirit has to be there.
Very much so. And I love hearing you relate the human interaction. It's the same everywhere, right? Whether it's at family, whether it's at work, whether it's in school, whether it's in society, we're all in this together. And when one doesn't align with everything else, the whole system falls apart.
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Each of us, suppose take for example, each teacher will be different from the other teacher. There's no point in, comparing with other teachers. As a teacher, you have to find out how you can handle the things, what is your method of teaching, and how you can make the students understand, and accordingly go ahead. No point in comparing with others. Similar thing is, no point in comparing one student with another student. Each student is an individual, each student is unique, and they have their unique points. So we have to work on that.
I love hearing you say that. I just did a workshop for high school girls, no, middle school girls, age 12 through 18, middle and high school, I guess, here in the Caribbean, and 80 girls. And we had girls were talking about how girls bully each other, girls make fun of each other for looking different, for being different. And we went through the exercise of closing the eyes and imagining a beautiful garden. The beautiful garden has trees and shrubs and flowers of all shapes and sizes. Flowers bloom at different seasons. The flowers look different. And I said, now open your eyes and look around. This is your beautiful garden. Each of you are going to bloom at a different time. Each of you are going to have a different color, different shape, different size. But guess what? It's only together you make a garden. If you're not together, you're not a garden, you're just a plant, right? And then we use that as an exercise to go into some team building and honoring one another exercises. That's what comes to my mind as you are talking. And it is so important for us as educators to impart that to our students, Because some cultures grow up saying, I'm an individual, I matter, and what I want is all that matters. And then there are other societies that say, you know what? You as an individual, your skills, your capabilities are important, but your success is tied to everybody's success. We are together. So we have both these in a global marketplace.
Yes. Individualistic versus collectivist.
And the
Right.
sweet spot is in the middle, right? We need both.
Yeah.
How are you, through your organizational behavior classes, and this is your advice to other professors, how are you helping create that balance in the classroom? Because some of your students are going to go and run international companies. God knows most tech firms in the United States are run by Indian people, right? So we have to prepare our students for the international stage. How are you doing it, and what lessons can other professors learn from your techniques?
Individually, in ASPM, actually, we follow a very strong mentor-mentee system. Each teacher is assigned with 2 to 3 students, and the students will continue with that teacher for the period of study. It can be 2 years, it can be 3 years, and completely for their each and every, doubts or problems, they come to the teacher. We mentor them, and we become a kind of a support system for those teachers. So that is a very strong system that we follow. So yes, I do also mentor some students. And in class, what happens if suppose some student is they're not doing well, ours is a kind of an interactive system. Suppose somebody is not doing well, somebody is not answering, and somebody is not coming to the class, we call them. We call them and talk to them and try to find out what is happening, and maybe some kind of personal problem, some kind of they're not able to understand the subject. It might so happen because suppose somebody in the first year, somebody is from a kind of an engineering background and they don't like organizational behavior. Somebody is from some other kind of behavior and they're not comfortable. So, we try to explain to them, and we also, like, I give them more time by calling them to my office whenever they are free and I'm free, and explain to them again and again and try to clarify their doubts. As a mentor also, I talk to other teachers, anybody who is teaching them, other subject teachers, that my mentee has this problem and please sort it out, please explain to them. And sometimes also they come to us for their individual issues. I guide them, I talk to them, try to find out what has happened. And counseling is a kind of major thing as a teacher. And they need to trust you. And if that trust is between the student and teacher, it is a very positive relationship, which helps actually the student, also helps the teacher also.
I love hearing that, Dr. Plago. I love hearing you say that. Go ahead.
And teacher also has to be very, enthusiastic, very innovative, very creative, because in a class when 60 students are there, all of them are not at par. All of them will not be on the same platform. Some will be extremely, intelligent. Some will be good. Some will be average. So, talking to them in a class, if you talk to only very highly intelligent people, the average will not feel good. Average, the intelligent will be feeling bad. So it's a very, depending on the class, depending on the topic, depending on the subject that you're teaching, you have to then and there create a kind of system to make it more interesting. And nowadays, when I started teaching, or even when we were students, it was more like a lecture method. Now they are not interested in lecture. You have to engage them, and video kind of thing helps them. Games, videos, and cases, and so many other things have to be adopted to make them understand the concept. And basically, when they understand the concept, it helps them.
Mhm.
They understand and they implement in their life also. In future, in their workplace, in their personal life, they would be implementing that if they understand. And there's
Mhm.
no point in, preparing only for the examination. Examinations are
Very
okay
much
there.
so.
Right.
Very much so, because life is not an exam, right? Life is about choices and consequences. And I am really appreciative that you are talking about every person learns differently. So
Yes.
as an educator, we need to be able to connect with every learner in the best way they learn. And part of our responsibility then is to create an inclusive classroom where everybody feels valued and welcome. And that is the major change from the time you and I went to school.
Yeah.
Versus us teaching our students who are coming to school. The world has changed, and it's changed for the better. So as we bring this wonderfully amazing conversation to a close, Dr. Plago, what is the one piece of advice you would give all professors all around the world to create a more inclusive, caring classroom where we are, as educators, able to help students become the best version of who they are?
I strongly believe that you should love your subject. When we love our subject, we become very excited about that, and that love and excitement for our subject will be getting transferred to the students. And if students become very excited, very like positive about that subject, and they will definitely do well, because that spirit of the teacher, that likingness for the subject of the teacher will go to them and it will be transferred to them, and then definitely they'll be understanding very easily. They'll experience those new things and they'll be happy doing that. So
Beautifully said.
passion and love for the subject that you're teaching, that is a must.
Beautifully said. And I couldn't have said it any better. And a reminder to all the teachers and actually to all the students, do what you love, because then your passion is going to drive you. And therefore, you don't have to put that extra effort to do something you're not happy doing. And that is such an important lesson for all of us to take through, not just this conversation, but through life. So, Dr. Plago, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Sharing your wisdom. I'm going to make sure your LinkedIn page is accessible through the video description, so that anybody who wants to talk to you, any teachers who want to get your advice, connect with you. We are building a community.
Thank you
And
very much.
let's keep building this. Let's keep having this conversation from time to time. And
Yes.
as I bring this conversation to a close, I want us to all take to heart what Dr. Plagu just said. Find your passion and live your passion, then your life becomes purposeful and you build a happy life around you. And when you are happy, I believe everything you touch becomes a happy environment. So remember, every human interaction is our opportunity for transformation. Go out there, whatever it is you do, touch lives with joy, transform lives, and you'd be surprised in a very joyful way. The life you end up transforming is ultimately yours.